You're sitting in the car. The engine is off. The silence isn't peaceful. It's heavy. You just spent 2 hours together, but you feel completely alone. Why does this keep happening? Is this just what long-term relationships feel like? Do I still love her, or have I just gotten used to the routine? Am I the problem? Honestly, you don't drift apart because your love faded. You drift apart because your safety did. The fights aren't about what you think they're about. They're about two people who are scared and don't know how to say it. You're not failing at love. This is not a sign that you chose the wrong person. Every couple that has ever loved each other has stood exactly where you're standing right now. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to read the unspoken signals of true love, and you'll have the tools to rebuild that deep, effortless connection from the ground up. Let's get into it. Most couples believe that true love is supposed to feel effortless, and if you have to work at it, something must be broken. But the real truth is, when safety leaves a relationship, the love doesn't disappear. It goes underground. Real repair isn't about louder conversations, not more compromising, not scheduling a weekly check-in, but two people who actually feel safe enough to be honest with each other for the first time in years. Your partner's nervous system is reading you before their mind can catch up. What looks like stonewalling is usually someone who has been so overwhelmed for so long that silence is the only protection they have left. When you try harder without changing the emotional tone, a disconnected partner will only withdraw further. This isn't incompatibility. It's the anxious avoidance cycle playing out between two people who both actually want the exact same thing, to feel safe enough to be seen. This is what I call the vulnerability test. Most people in relationships think love means hiding their messy parts to keep the peace. But beneath the surface, her nervous system is looking for proof that she can be imperfect and still be chosen. Most couples fall into the disconnecting habit, where you just sigh and say, "We'll talk about this later." But the connecting version looks like this. You pause, look her in the eyes, and say, "I can see this is heavy. I'm right here with you." And when you do that, the walls between you start to come down without either of you having to say a word. Her brain is quietly registering, "I am safe here." Next is the micro-bid recognition. Most couples miss the tiny, everyday moments because they're waiting for grand romantic gestures. Here's the part no one talks about. Intimacy isn't built in the big moments. It's built in the 30-second ones, when you choose to look up. In the disconnecting version, she says, "Look at that weird dog." And you grunt without looking up from your phone. But in the connecting version, you put the phone down, look, and say, "Okay, that is a hilarious dog." That's the shift that turns a relationship that feels like a negotiation into one that feels like a refuge. Then we have the conflict repair. Most people in relationships believe that a good fight means winning the argument or proving you're right. But here's the thing. Your nervous system in a conflict is like a smoke detector. It cannot tell the difference between your partner raising their voice and actual danger, so it sounds the alarm regardless. When you disconnect, she shuts down or attacks, and you respond with, "I'm just stating facts. Why are you so sensitive?" But when you connect, she takes a breath and says, "I'm feeling flooded, but I'm not leaving. Can we pause for 10 minutes? That's when your partner stops feeling like a problem to manage and starts feeling like a person to come home to. This brings us to the quiet presence. Most couples try to fill every silence with chatter, fearing that quiet means distance. But true connection is found in the unspoken longing to just be together. She feels safe when your presence alone is enough. When you disconnect, you constantly check your watch or scroll, making the silence feel awkward and strained. But when you connect, you sit beside her, maybe resting a hand on her knee, completely content in the shared space. And here's what changes everything. That quiet safety is the exact foundation where deep, lasting passion is rebuilt. What's moving through her is, "I forgot how good it feels to be chosen." Fifth is future weaving. Most people in relationships talk about the future in vague, hypothetical terms to avoid commitment pressure. And this is the one most couples never figure out. When she truly loves you, she starts naturally weaving you into her long-term emotional landscape. When you disconnect, she says, "Maybe we can go there someday if things work out." But when you connect, she says, "When we go to that cabin next year, you're definitely in charge of the fire." This isn't a communication hack. This is just what two emotionally mature people naturally do when they are becoming a true team. Next is the protective boundary. Most couples let outside stressors, friends, or family dictate the emotional climate of their relationship. But here's what nobody explains. A woman who truly loves you will fiercely protect the sanctity of your bond from external drift. When you disconnect, she lets her friend mock your relationship dynamics, staying silent to keep the peace. But when you connect, she gently but firmly says, "Actually, we're really happy with how we handle that. Thanks." And when you witness that, you realize you're not just a partner. You're her priority. And finally, there is curious inquiry. Most people in relationships stop asking questions after the first year, assuming they already know everything. But love is a living, breathing thing. She feels alive when you remain genuinely curious about who she is becoming. When you disconnect, she assumes she knows your motives and says, "You always do that. I already know your answer." But when you connect, she asks, "I know we've talked about this before, but I'd love to hear how you're feeling about it now." That's the shift that makes her brain quietly register, "He actually heard me this time." This isn't a checklist. It's an invitation to show up differently. And that changes everything about what's possible between you and the person you chose. When you internalize this, you stop reacting and start responding. Your partner will feel the difference before you've even said a word. These aren't tips for a better relationship. They're the beginning of becoming the kind of partner you always wanted someone to be for you. Real intimacy doesn't start when you find the right person. It starts when you decide to become one.